Okay, we're not going to do a lot of individual CSS styling on this training course, but we are going to add a little bit here to these member cards so they appear a little bit more interactive. And it'll also give us an opportunity to take a look at how Angular deals with CSS encapsulation for each of these components as well. Because the Bootstrap card we're using here, we might want to use somewhere else, but we might not want to apply the same styling that we're using on these cards. So let's go back to VS Code and let's close some of this stuff down. I'll just close the others as we're just working on the member card component, and I'll just right click and go to definition for the member card component CSS. So we're going to target the card. We've got a class of card, that's the Bootstrap styling that we're using, and we're going to target its hover and the image. So when we hover over the image, we're going to do something. And what we'll do here is we're going to transform and scale the image and say 1.2, 1.2. So we're going to make the image bigger when we hover over it. We'll also give it a transition duration and set that to 500 milliseconds. And we'll give it a transition timing function and we'll say ease out. And we'll also target the cards and the image inside the card, and we'll effectively do this for the other way when we're not hovering over the image. So we'll copy this one and we'll just scale the image back down again and say 1.0 and 1.0. We'll keep the same timing duration of 500 milliseconds and we'll keep it to ease out. And in order for the image not to go outside of the card, then we'll also target that card-image-wrapper class that we added, and we'll set the overflow to be hidden. So when we do make the image bigger, it's going to give us the impression that we're zooming into the image. And if we go and take a look at the effect of this, and what we find is that as we hover over the image, we've got this kind of zooming effect. And oh, that's interesting. Two of these users have the same image. Okay. So looks like I've got some duplicates in the seed data, or the API we're using to get the images from have repetition in their images. That's also equally possible. But I shan't worry about that. What I did want to talk about now is CSS encapsulation. If I take a look and inspect one of these cards, and we take a look at the image tag, for instance, then what we have is an ng content ng random number or random string, and then we've got our class information. And what this means is that that is encapsulated purely into this component. Each component has their own unique identifier, and that CSS is going to be encapsulated into that component. And that's the default behavior. And this way, when we specify CSS classes in our component CSS file, I can use a card image elsewhere in a different component and it will not have this style applied to it. And there's three different modes of doing this. There's the mode we're using now, and we can configure this on a per component basis. So if I take a look at encapsulation, then this is the encapsulation policy for the component styling. And view encapsulation emulated is the default behavior. View encapsulation none means that our component CSS file is treated like a global style sheet because it does not encapsulate any styles. And the view encapsulation shadow DOM is the same behavior as emulated, but it uses the browser's native capability to encapsulate styles. This one is the default because it's the most compatible. This one needs to be supported by the browser that the user is using, but it has the same effect as what we're using with the emulated. If I take a look at encapsulation and say view encapsulation and none, for instance, and then we go back to the browser and we take a look at the CSS being applied, notice that now we don't have that ng underscore content, etc. We've just got the card image top rather than any encapsulation inside there. but it doesn't affect other components. Other components have still got their encapsulation enabled, and it's just this component, the @member card we're looking at inside here, it doesn't encapsulate the styling. So this is a good thing, and we'll keep it enabled. If we do want global styles, we can do that, but we wouldn't add global styles into an individual component CSS file. That would be potentially confusing. So we'll just put the CSS encapsulation back to how it should be. And in the meantime, before I start work on the next lesson, I am going to change the image or update the image for one of these characters, because I don't think they're twins. I think there's duplication going on there. And when I come back, what we're going to take a look at is adding more interactivity into our member cards, and we'll add some buttons so that users can click on things.